Hey guys, we'll get started in just a few seconds here. AR, why don't you try talking?
Talk. I had something I was going to say that'd be cute here, but I forgot what it was, so sorry.
Dev, why don't you try talking?
My attention span is exceptionally short, so I have no clue what's going on anymore.
I've been in 100-degree plus weather for a few days, so that's about where I am also. You guys ready to
Rest in
go?
fucking pieces.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. You
Sounds
ready,
good.
Dev? Okay.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast. We're here to entertain and inform a bit while talking about Digimon. I'm Mark, I run with the will.
I'm AR Pulver, Digimon System Restore.
I'm DevQ. I work as an admin on Wikimon.
And that went much better than last time. Hooray.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah. So, since I believe it's been very hot for all of us, tiring for all of us, who wants to just jump right into it? Or is there any catch up anyone would like to do from the past week?
The sooner we can get going, the sooner I can turn my air conditioner back on.
Hooray. And that is why I use noise reduction. Because I have a fan on 2 feet from me. And first up, it has been 21 years since the English premiere of Digimon. We're all old at this point. Yeah,
God damn.
Yeah.
August 14th, first episode aired on Fox Kids. And as I say every time we do this, I just wanted to see a commercial for Transformers that they promised would air. That was the entire reason I tuned in.
Yeah, it was halfway through before I started watching with any regularity, so the date means like nothing to me personally.
I was actually there when it aired.
Willingly?
Nice.
Yes.
Ooh.
Because I liked cartoons, and it was Saturday morning, and it's like, oh hey, this thing has monsters, and it looks cool. That, and I was usually watching stuff like Earthworm Jim and Freakazoid anyway, so, you know.
Yeah, that's a better thing to have to say than I wanted to see a commercial for a different show.
And really what it boils down to is, hey, this has monsters and monsters are cool is really the appeal of the new show, so nothing's really changed.
My tastes have been consistent, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we do in fact have a new episode to talk about. Episode 11, The Wolf Standing Atop the Desert.
That's a pretentious title.
Yeah. It at least sounds nice, though.
It does sound very nice.
I think it starts off with the team split up, and I actually like that they're already split up when it starts, and we actually start with the group that we're not following for the episode.
I was surprised about that.
Yeah, we basically
get a focus on the not featured team this time and give them a little bit of a.
We basically get a tease for something entirely different, which worked well as an introduction because it could be a little bit silly with Mimi.
Mm-hmm. And how great is it that Mimi's complaining about the idea to split the teams when it was her idea to split them randomly?
Because she somehow assumed that she'd get to just end up with the lazy team.
Which one would be the lazy team?
Well, to be fair, I'm saying from her perspective. Yeah. She thought she'd be off on the easygoing side when there really isn't one.
I mean, I suppose it could have been her and Joe and Yamato. That would have been a disaster.
Yeah. So instead we get Yamato, Joe, and Sora going through the desert.
Maybe she was desperately hoping that she'd get the one with, Digimon that basically turn into rides.
To be fair, she had just been sitting in a village the whole time she was there. Prior to leaving, she was basically just being served.
And the other group did basically have a ride. Like they made that nice little basket to be carried by Birdramon.
Poor Birdramon. Every time she shows up, she just gets blasted.
And she still doesn't get an evolution sequence.
Hey, she got one of those mini ones. I mean, none of the others have gotten a sequence since then. They've just gotten the quick mean. She at least got the bubble thing this time, which is the first time she's gotten it. I consider that a small victory.
Poor Birdramon.
So they're in the desert, and desert things happen.
It's very deserty indeed.
I need to see how many anime and animations in general have used there's an enemy who can tell where you are on the stand, so you have to get off. I mean, that's a pretty well-known thing at this point, to the point that it was like a major part of multiple elements of Breath of the Wild.
And also Tremors.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just that Breath of the Wild, it's that Zelda boss.
So you get them saving the Curimon, I believe is the name.
Kyaro.
Okay.
Kyaromon. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that right?
They save a few of them, and then they find Tenchi. I mean, we've mused for months.
Of all the characters that Masami Kikuchi plays, you're never going to give up Tenchi.
Because Tenchi's the laziest one to go for. I mean, here's the thing. If I say Keiichi, how many people are going to know who the hell that is?
It's Oh My Goddess, isn't it?
Yes. If I say Tenchi, even people who don't know Tenchi will have a vague idea in their head of what Tenchi is.
I actually did not know that he also voiced Keiichi.
Oh, he voices 99% of those characters who just appear to be Tenchi or Keiichi are in fact him, just playing them.
I mean, you could technically say that Joe is talking to Joe.
Yes.
Yeah. And really now I think Joe needs to be the protagonist of a harem anime. I think that's called for.
I mean, that's kind of just Tenchi, isn't it?
Yeah, but it needs to be Joe.
Okay, so just paste Blue over and draw glasses on him. But having him back as Neemon was nice. It was a small little cameo, but it was a good one. And now you have to wonder that now we're down to just a handful of actors who could pop back who haven't. We're down to 3, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see who else may pop up and where.
I still say that the rest of Kikuchi's characters need to show up at some point, including the human ones.
See, I would say just have him play characters who vaguely look like them and have no reason to be there other than to have him play them.
Grata and Dolphin. Here we go.
It will be Grata and Whale.
Oh.
And then for some reason, Joe.
Yeah, the original Joe shows up for no reason. There you go.
But yeah, and oddly, he doesn't act very silly. He's almost sort of more of a mini data dump, where we get the information that was key.
Exposition.
And it's not like it's extreme exposition there. It's like they're just...
No, it was very quick.
Yeah, he's just explaining that his team is trying to not die, and they're trying to get a place which will help them not die. It's a pretty straightforward...
I mean, to be fair, though, their goal's Leomon, so that may be counterproductive.
Well, I mean, they don't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, so...
It really, it's just a nice little bit of introduction to the idea that there's this resistance movement going on, and Leomon's in charge of it, so it's probably not going to be doing very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least it's not like, we're leaving everything to just this random group of kids that we isekai'd.
Yeah, and the weird thing...
It's not Frontier.
Now, the weird thing to me, which happens right after this, and before we get to the Where Garurumon stuff, which is basically the focus of the episode with Yamato and everything, have we ever seen a Kakumon just hanging out, being out there? Like when he was sort of just out in this episode, I sort of just went, I don't recall really seeing a Kakumon all that much in general. Like even in Adventure, he basically popped up exactly when they needed a ride or to attack, and that was it. Here, like, we got to see him look a little worried, and he had the little teardrop thing.
It's the case with most of the adult levels in the original.
No, I know, but
there's not a whole ton of adults just hanging around.
No, I know, it's just weird to see, because, like, even if they do hang out, it would be Greymon a little bit. So to see a Kakumon sort of just being there was almost kind of strange.
It's a nice touch to not send them up and down constantly. Although it did go down eventually, so I guess it was a moot point.
And we got to see one of those boost attacks from Birdramon.
Yep.
And
are we already ahead to the battle?
Well, that's the thing is the primary part of the episode is Yamato, so it kind of feels like we're going to talk about all of that at once because.
Oh, I mean, the argument in the cave, the little Sora Yamato debate. Yeah. I think that was actually the best part of the episode, if we're being honest.
It was. It was also interesting because they actually. I'm trying to think of the way I want to word this. Would it be too hard to just joke the tsundere?
No, he's. I mean, it's almost like we can get into this a little more as we go on, but I think Yamato is past tsundere and just straight up asshole.
I like that. I like that we actually a little bit had Joe standing up to him. A little bit.
A little bit.
Tiny bit. He's getting better.
Yeah, Joe's still trying. Joe's feeling his way into this group.
Yes.
And it's kind of that's really the only reason this works, because this is a pretty elementary debate here, is whether to take the whole group with and try to save everybody, or whether to plow ahead and just beat the bad guy and be done with it. It's a very simple thing. Like it's like literally the first 10 episodes of Cross Wars, every episode features this discussion.
Yeah.
It works because it's early and these three don't really know each other and Taichi's not there to guide them.
Yes.
So it's really Sora and Yamato figuring this out for themselves and Joe trying to find a good place to chime in.
Because here's the thing.
That's what makes this scene work.
Joe doesn't want to be in danger, but he's also not quite willing to just walk away. And like he did in a very mellow's not the right word, but like he really doesn't want to, but he's also not willing to walk away. And I like that we got some degree of actual character for him that was not just, and Joe does something silly.
Yeah, and Joe's also,
he's about studying.
Yeah, and Joe also hears the point about, this situation in Tokyo is happening and it's, escalating as we speak and we can't waste a whole lot of time. And he's like, he's not wrong. Yeah. Like, that's a valid point to consider.
But they're also right in front of people who need help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he can't say Hotokanai and all that.
Yeah.
Also plays into his, whole thing as a doctor, or at least future doctor, because it's like, you got to help people, dude.
Yeah.
You'd hope so. I mean, you don't know. We're at that point where we don't really know if the whole doctor thing is out of desire or
we don't we learned about the original Joe that even if it was an obligation, it was something that he deeply cared about.
Yes.
That he maybe got into it due to obligation, but that was something that meant something to him. We technically don't actually know that about this version of Joe.
I get a real impression that this Joe, as he exists right now, is doing it mostly out of obligation. And that was part of his arc in the original adventure, was him coming to realize, no, I really do care and I really do want to become a doctor.
Yeah.
For legitimate reasons.
Yeah. And then Yamato stomps off.
As he does.
Yeah.
This is the third time he's done this?
Yeah. Then so we then get I'm trying to think if I really want to call it a fight, because it was more like being surrounded almost.
Yeah, Sora and Joe
ambushed.
Yeah.
Not even, it was an ambush that everyone saw coming.
Yeah, everyone kind of knew that.
Sora and Joe is like, okay, I'll have Biyomon draw off the Sandayamamon and you go and get killed by Scorpiomon. That's the plan.
And then
they really did not have an answer for Scorpiomon.
No. And then the answer was basically just try to keep moving to some degree.
Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily a good plan, although to be fair, I don't believe they realized at that point that he could tell where they were. Yamato might have already realized it by that point. I don't remember if that was earlier or later when he figured it out.
I'm pretty sure Yamato did figure that out. And
no, he did. He did.
Sora.
I just don't.
And he did not. He did not tell Sora.
I just don't remember. I just don't remember if he remembered it early in the episode or in the later fight. But he definitely did not tell them.
No, it was in the first part that you noticed.
Yeah.
Yamato is an asshole.
Yes. And then him and Garurumon come leaping in to save the day, where he also ends up revealing a bit later that it was, or at least he's claiming it's a setup.
Asshole.
Yes.
That is if that's actually true, that is extremely manipulative, and Sora and Joe should be really pissed off about that.
Especially since it actually does no real advantage to having them act as bait in that context. Because the Digimon was going to come after them no matter what.
Just tell them they're going to be bait.
Yeah.
Like, they're willing to be bait. They've been bait before.
And then
Joe has been bait a couple times.
And then the power of friendship.
Episode, Tai-Chi was willingly bait.
Sure. Just tell Joe, hey, you're going to be bait this time. Tai-Chi did it last time. Take one for the team, buddy.
But like with bait, they were actually friends all along, and the power of friendship gets us where Garurumon, who I actually like the evolution sequence a lot more than Metal Greymon, to be honest.
The evolution sequence was good.
Yeah. I like the Foxfire burning on all of the outfit elements.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we get a very nice and short fight of him just, like, beating the crap out of him. Like, it almost wasn't a fight at that point.
That's like you are already dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't like that very much, because that was one of the cool things about the first episode when Greymon evolved for the first time. He and Algomon still had a fight. They had a good fight. Here, as soon as they hit their their perfect forms, it's over. It's instantly over. And Scorpiomon, as threatening as he was the entire episode, is just completely useless.
So I think I know what they intended, but they didn't clarify it enough to make it work. I think the idea was that where Garurumon could move so quickly, that Scorpiomon simply couldn't do anything. That he was moving so quickly that his sensing stuff just didn't work, so he kind of just started striking out, but I don't think they explained it enough to make it
and
work.
By that point, Scorpiomon was already on the surface.
Yeah.
So, like, he could see he didn't have to use his perception, he could just see him.
True. But yeah, it was a quick fight. It looked nice, but I really did like the fight, but it was not one of the better fights we've seen.
Yeah.
Probably underwhelming considering some of the previous ones. But another thing I realized that was amusing, since you mentioned Breath of the Wild earlier, just kind of like Ikakumon is basically one of the sand seals that drags you around.
I did not think
about seals,
that.
We've got the levers, we've got.
And then we have Yamato telling us why he's a prick. And I know you have some feelings on this AR, so I will let you go ahead and start off.
Yes, he's like suddenly, he's like, the reason we're so urgent about saving the day here is my little brother's back home and he's scared and helpless, and credit him for showing an emotion in front of the
people.
Teammates, but like. Do the other kids not have family back home?
I think
Are they not freaking out? They're all having the same problem. Every single one of them has this same issue. Taichi especially, and they're all still capable of being decent human beings.
I think there's a difference in Yamato's case, though, in that the others, or at least from his perspective, the others actually know about their families. And from Yamato's perspective, he kind of doesn't know, and that doesn't necessarily excuse how he's acting. I think it does explain it a bit. Because even from what little we could grasp, it did not come across that he sees much of Takeru or even knows much of what is going on with him. So I saw that sort of as he doesn't have that information, and he kind of assumes everyone else does. If that makes sense.
Which is a pretty weighty assumption. Like, I wouldn't be considering how much time would have passed between them leaving and now. I mean, assuming it's been several hours at least, and a lot.
I would assume it's been days.
Oh yeah, at least. And you don't know what's happened between then and now, and so none of them really have a good idea of it. So even what you're saying about Yamato.
But here's the thing, I'm saying from his perspective, not from the idea of that we know the same exists. I'm saying in his mind, they all have families that are together, and even if they're not there, they have families that, in theory, know what's going on, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that excuses how he's acting.
They're probably functional adults.
Yes. And, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Taichi has Hikari's back home.
Yeah, but he also knows that she's with, at the very least, their mother.
Yeah, but Yamato should probably be assuming that there's somebody watching Takeru. Like, you can't. She shouldn't be assuming that mom is not there.
Oh, I'm not. I'm saying in his mind, it has to be him.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not
an excuse.
No. It's not an excuse to how the character acts. I'm saying I would not be shocked if that is the explanation we get when things change later. And that doesn't excuse the way he acts. I'm just saying I think it's a valid reason for why he would act that way, even if it's still completely wrong.
Yeah, I guess, like, he's still an asshole, is what it boils
down
to.
No, he is. There's no argument there. He is an asshole.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that in his mind, it's okay.
Well, of course,
it's also like in Japan, where like a lot of kids are kind of expected to take care of themselves and, be responsible from a really young age, and that's just really normal. Like the first Digimon Adventure movie, where like Taichi and Hikari are just like, chilling at home, no parental supervision. Taichi's like 5 and making eggs, and that's just normal. So how does Yamato know that his mom, who is like obviously a career woman, doesn't leave Takeru by himself for like some hours at a time?
That's true.
I'll be curious to see if any of this actually happens, though.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah. At the same time, if Yamato knows Takeru like we know Takeru, that kid's gonna be fine because he's stupidly self-reliant.
Yeah. But yeah, even in the original adventure, though, Yamato didn't really act like Takeru was self-reliant, even though he kind of was. He was a crybaby, but he could handle things on his own.
Yeah. And really what this boils down to is, as far as where they're at in the episode, like, I'm saying that Yamato's an asshole.
He is.
For episode 11, that's totally okay that he's an asshole at this point.
It might help if they developed it a bit more, so it's not just him having these one-shot appearances of doing really dumb things and then sort of just standing there with his arms crossed for the rest of the time. That would help, though.
It would help, but even then, it's fine for where he's at in the series right now. But this is where you run into trouble having these perfect evolutions so early, because his character hasn't gotten to the point where it feels like he should have had 2 evolutions by now. And like I've said before, that other characters in other series have had their second evolutions this early, but when you have the characters kind of developing a little more slowly than we're used to, and that have been developed in the past, having these second evolutions at this point is so jarring, and it does take you out of things a little bit.
It does.
That's kind of the bigger problem with just saying, you shouldn't just say, oh, having second evolutions in episode 10 to episode 11 is too early, but having their second evolutions where these characters are right now, that I think you can make that argument.
Well, here's where I think that this is sort of jumping into the episode preview a bit. I think it's easier for Yamato, who had clearly been running around with Garurumon before the show ever started, for us to accept it for him, where the leap is he's accepting people as friends, even if he's not good at it. And that is a character leap, even if we haven't seen enough of him to take it that way. Because we saw who he was when he started off, and then he vanished for a bit. But he was already running around having adventure. I think it becomes more difficult with the preview, and where we know Mimi, then it's going to be Koshiro, or then Sora, then Koshiro, where we're then getting everyone else in rapid succession, where, for all joking aside about how it's always going to be Taichi and Yamato, it might have worked better if they had just done those 2 and then waited 3 or 4 episodes to do the others, or even 1 episode just to have something in between, because now you have the person who in theory would have gotten it among the earliest, and then next week is someone who a couple days ago didn't even know Padamon could evolve at all.
Right. It's like it's just continuing to be an issue. Like all that, like that's a fair point that he's been in this a while. It just doesn't feel like it in our
because
heads. So that's why it's so jarring right now.
Yeah, regardless of how long he's been doing it, as far as we're concerned, he popped up in episode 2. Because and the episode sort of ends with him telling, and Joe's so happy, and Joe wants to tell him about himself, and he kind of doesn't care, as I recall.
I mean, Sora just wants him to shut up because Sora wants him to shut up because she heard all this BS before.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that Sora has heard all of this.
Yeah,
and the next episode,
Sora's straight up calling him out. It's like, let me tell you my backstory, and Sora's like, I've heard it already. He's like, shut up.
And then the next episode, we get Mimi, Lilymon, and everyone's favorite Andromon. And Gardramon, in fact.
Gardramon's not everyone's favorite, though.
Well, in my head, I am...
See, you can make a case.
In my head, I sort of wonder if it's the same character.
Could be.
Yeah, and the episode title is...
that would actually be an interesting twist if there was a Gardramon to Andromon evolution.
Oh, see, I wondered if it might be the opposite.
Well, that's just tamers. That's not interesting.
I was gonna say, I think Gardramon is like decently popular enough that they, made him someone's partner Digimon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with Gardramon. I just don't think he's quite the same fan favorite as Andromon.
No, absolutely not. But hey, Mimi episode next week. And Taichi and Koshiro.
Mimi episode next week.
And can we appreciate that the end goes back to the teaser for it, and Koshiro is exactly where Koshiro was at the beginning of Adventure the first time he found one of these, which is sort of just ignoring that the world exists because he's trying to get every bit of information he can.
The fact that even Taichi was bored with that is kind of encouraging. Like, Mimi being bored is a sort of a given. The fact that Taichi's even kind of getting annoyed, that's what I like to see. I want to see a little bit of conflict here.
Well, the thing is that tiny little seed of conflict actually has Koshiro explain why he's doing it, which I think does make it more interesting rather than just him standing. He actually explains, we may need this stuff later.
Sure. I mean, it's like conflict doesn't have to be these loud arguments. What I'm saying, when I say we need more conflict, I'm not saying that there needs to be these.
Just not everyone smiling.
Just not everyone is necessarily on the same page, and just having Taichi push a little bit on that. It's like, why is this necessary? And Koshiro having to explain why it's necessary. That's the sort of little stuff that we need a lot more of.
Now the question is, do you think? Now here's the thing. Last week, it felt like people liked the episode, disliked it. It felt like this week, the range was much wider between people really enjoying it and people kind of being upset at it.
I don't know, because I like this one slightly better than last week.
I did also, but it felt... I just mean, like, last week I'd say the top ranking, outside of, just loving every episode, I'd say it was more A-, B+ to sort of B-. This, it felt like there was a lot of people who either really loved it or really didn't like it at all. Guessing ahead of time, how do you think the introduction of Lilymon will handle? Because one, people tend to like Mimi episodes, and we didn't get Lilymon anywhere near when everyone else got them last time.
No. Well,
they did that way into the Vomdemon arc for that one.
Yeah, well, they did that weird thing where they had 4 pretty quickly, and then even though there was a pretty obvious Mimi episode to do it, they pushed it back another 10 episodes, and then did Zudomon and Lilymon, which was a little strange, but I didn't mind
it worked well.
Yeah, it worked really well. Like that Lilymon, like I've said before, that Lilymon episode is my single favorite episode of Adventure.
How do you think next week will compare to this week? Just based off the trailer and the idea of what we know about it.
So I think it really does depend on what they put Mimi through, and especially if she's allowed to do this herself and they don't have Metal Greymon interfere.
I will say this, it looks more interesting than this week's. Based on the trailer, I think. It feels like there's some more interesting stuff happening But that's also based off, at most, 30 seconds of footage.
Yeah. And it really still... If once we get used to the idea that while they're doing this, they're going to give us all these ultimates way too early, I think that by the time we get to the last few, we'll be sort of adjusted to the idea, and we can sort of grade them. And we can, I suppose. I guess we can sort of grade them. It would be weird to only do 5 of them. It would be... You can kind of...
Are you suggesting that they might keep Zudomon from Joe?
Oh, man, that'd be terrible.
That would be mean.
That would just be mean, yeah.
See, that would be mean, but here's the thing. We know the order. If you were going to keep one, you almost could imagine it being Joe. I don't think they're going to, mind you. That's just where the episode guide cut off. You almost could give Joe character development by having him not able to figure it out.
Oh, don't make him Junpei. Come on.
I was gonna cheat and go with Rat Trap from Beast Machines.
See, I keep it to Digimon. At least I keep it to Digimon.
Hey,
yeah, don't make Joe Junpei. Hey. But look, if they're
be nice, I could talk about Star Trek. I could talk about Star Trek.
Oh God, if Yamato is this much of an asshole and they're still giving him a second evolution, Joe can be Joe and still give him a second evolution. It's okay. Fair enough. Call it a treat.
And
I mean, they could jerk him around a little bit first.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I want them to jerk everybody around before they get their second evolutions. That's the fun part of second evolution.
I mean, he wants to be the leader.
Yeah, look what they did to Koshiro in the original series to get his second evolution. Come on, they had Padamon bully him around for an episode.
And then we got just like a couple hours ago, actual details for the Adventure Blu-ray box beyond it existing. It will be episodes 1 through 12, which conveniently is up to the next episode. We already knew about trailers and commercial type things. It's going to have clean opening and ending, which in retrospect feels obvious, but you kind of wonder when they don't announce stuff. And the booklet will have interviews with Yuko Sanpei, who's Taichi, Yumiko Kobayashi, who's Koshiro, Chika Sakamoto, who's Agumon, and Takahiro Sakurai, who's Tentomon, who we don't get all that much interview content with him. Like, we only generally get interview stuff with him when it's for everyone, so it's nice to see that.
It's actually one of my favorite voice actors.
He does so many characters, it is shocking, and especially the range. Like, it is very funny to think that he's Cloud. And Tentomon. Those two characters do not quite fit together, do they?
Well, I mean, yeah, Tentomon talks, so... Sorry.
No, that's not a bad one. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice. See, this makes me more and more curious if 66 is indeed just a filler number for sales, because I would have gone with 11 if it had been 66. Just to split them up evenly. But we'll see.
I think it's going to be a situation where like one of the cours is like 2 episodes short or something.
Yeah, we'll see. And then
or the last ones are just really long. I don't know. Yeah. This does make me wonder if episode 12 might be where they switch ending themes, though. Like, moving on to like episode 13 might be the
I feel like if they were, we would know by now because they would start doing the marketing for it. I mean,
we were talking about that on the Discord trying to remember when they start promoting new endings coming up.
It's generally, I feel like we would already have it by now, to be honest, or at least something. Because, like, think about how long we were getting stuff for the opening and ending before the show started. And Atmon, I believe we were getting weeks and weeks ahead of time.
Was it weeks and weeks? Okay.
I
thought it was like a week.
Maybe, but I don't believe it was the week of.
This is very important to me because when they switch endings is when I usually do wrap-up posts on my blog just to kind of summarize where we're at so far and overall impressions. So
maybe they'll hold it this time for the end of everyone getting perfect.
Ooh, that would be.
And the last one will have some big reveal at the end.
They switch endings to immediately show immediate spoilers for what's happening in the next cour.
And then we had the
Hikari is the 8th child.
Surprise!
You can learn to program with Digimon. That's like this week's big weird surprise. I see the news in the middle of the night. I'm like, okay, I'll put that up in the morning. With that Digimon content was going to appear in a programming app in Japan, and I wake up and have a message from someone, and it's like, the app's also out in the US. It's like, wait, what? It's like, it is.
What?
I honestly, I'm not joking. I bookmarked this app.
Yeah,
my kid was a couple. If my kid was like 2 years older, we would be all over this app.
Yeah, so Programming Zemi is an app that was basically designed to teach programming concepts and ideas to 1st through 3rd graders, and they've added Digimon Adventure content to it. Where basically, you drag the character there and you give the little programming concepts for are they displayable, do they move, just to teach them how programming works. And it's available through January 31st. So it's a nice, neat little thing. It's too bad that it's temporary, which it always is, but it's still neat that it's there.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't care that it's temporary.
I wonder if it'll have any like unique contact or images or anything someone can rip.
Yeah, no. But I don't care if the app's going. I don't care if the content's going away soon. I'm still probably going to save this app to show the kid when he's just a little bit older.
Yeah, it's the images of the wallpapers that they did for the Parade website, along with basic art of Greymon and Garurumon. So yeah, nice little thing. And kind of sort of reinforces pointing out that yes, while they're not afraid to put stuff in to appeal to fans, they really do intend the show to be for kids. Which seems to come up in discussion almost every day, like just how much kid stuff is actually showing up for this.
I still want the gummies.
And Wave 2 of those should be out soon.
Gummy snacks.
The app stuff's been weird in the last week, though. Like, sort of Digimon New Century was kind of mentioned in context of coming out in Japan, but not. It was almost like, even Onke was like, it's almost was more like a vague allusion or implication of it without actually saying they plan to bring it. So it may have just been odd wording, so we're not actually sure, but we'll see if we get Digimon New Century. As far as I know, it's the CS models just with cell shading, and we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. With the way they release these things, I always seem like it's a strange thing to only limit it to one particular region, especially if that region is not Japan.
Well, in the case of a lot of the Chinese ones or the Korean ones, it's generally having local ones there, so you have a local presence.
Yeah.
So so those ones are often specific to those countries, while everything else sort of is the pseudo rest of Japan, then potentially the rest of the world.
Yeah, but if they bring it to Japan or Korea or China and Korea, and it seems to go over pretty well, it's like it always surprises me that they don't.
I don't think
to Japan.
I don't think any of the previous ones really have gone over that well after the initial release.
But the music was pretty good.
Yeah, the music was pretty good for
one.
Oh, Encounters. Encounters, the intro song.
The one with Dukemon.
Yeah.
That's just how I call it now.
Yeah, and the weird thing is like the game, and this is where it does get confusing. The people can clearly play New Century now, but as far as I can tell, it's just considered a beta, even though it's fully there, and the actual release will be in like October, I think. Like, it doesn't feel like it was a beta. It feels like it just came out. So, we'll see. And I love talking about AR's favorite subject, which is the card game. AR, how excited are you that there's going to be 3 new starter decks?
I'm really excited we have a third host to banter with.
Yeah. So
I've given up card games.
Oh, great.
To be fair, Dev likes art. Dev likes art. Therefore, she has something to talk about. So
has Toya started a podcast about the card game yet?
Well, here's the thing. They've had 2 different shows running, so close enough. So this is basically stores in Japan taking pre-orders earlier than they probably are meant to be. So it looks like we'll get Giga Green, which we assume is Hercules Kabuterimon. Venom Violet. I wonder who that would be.
Gee.
It's a mystery.
And Mugen Black, who's even more of a mystery. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Venom shows up in enough attacks that you could almost make an argument that we can't guess, even though Venom Padamon. In the case of Mugen Black, that really only is associated with one character that I can think of.
First word in the chorus of Butterfly.
But yeah, so
so
it looks like those will be 500 yen again, so cheap once again, and being
It is really cheap.
Yeah, basically you get a 54 card deck made from 16 cards that are specific to that booster set.
But do they come with gum?
No, unfortunately. To be fair, that's why it's 500 yen. The gum would make it at least 600. And then they did. There's been 2 more episodes of Fun Digicon in the past week. They're doing the viewer suggestion stuff again. The decks this time. So in the first episode, you get the basically a chosen children deck with every card being different, which I can't imagine trying to play a 4-color deck is that easy. And then you get a deck based around Diablomon. It feels like there was a purposeful theme chosen here. And then the one after, and I think this is where AR will actually be amused. A Gomamon deck versus a different Gomamon deck.
I heard there was a lot of Joe in this last one.
Yes, it
was a very Joey episode, is what I heard on the timeline.
Yeah, each of them use a different Gomamon deck suggested by users, and both of them also are using 4 different Joe cards.
Joe.
So, yeah. Probably soon we'll start getting new card images because we have October for the next booster set, so we'll see what pops up. And this next one annoys me because we were talking about it in the last episode and it showed up like the next morning or that night. The results for the favorite Royal Knight poll. AR, who's number 1?
Why, it's Omegamon, color me shocked.
It's like he just showed up out of nowhere to become a popular character after no one noticed him for 20 years.
Who is this guy? I don't remember Omegamon.
And then number 2 is Dukemon.
Omegamon he wasn't in Frontier at all.
Dukemon's number 2, which not super shocking. Alphamon's 3. I'm
actually really happy that Dukemon beat out Alphamon. Yeah. Like, yay.
Now, I'll say this. For number 4, UL Force of Digimon, it was hard to weigh if I thought he would show up high or low. Because he is popular, but he isn't necessarily well known outside of more hardcore fans. So it's nice to see him.
He's popular enough that he got a gigantic, really expensive figurine that I'm waiting to show up for.
Yeah, I'm doing the same.
It's not like they're the hardcore fans aren't a huge chunk of this voting.
No, absolutely, but still fans love Magnamon. Magnamon was 5. I would not have been shocked if Magnamon was 2 or 3.
Do you think maybe All Force of Digimon and Magnamon split the vote?
Possibly.
A lot of people were just really torn between All Force and Magnamon, and that's why they got 4th and 5th.
And then
Alphamon beat them.
That's actually quite possible, to be honest. And then I'm trying to decide if Jessmon at number 6 is lower or higher than I expected. Because that's one that it felt like, as long as in the top half, it's not unexpected, but I wouldn't have been shocked if he'd been high up.
I thought Nightmon would have done better.
Yeah, but he always shows up and stuff, and then it's kind of a jackass.
But he always shows up and stuff.
But he always shows up, and he's always kind of unlikable when he shows up, though.
Yeah, but the constant presence thing would at least would give him an edge over someone like.
I believe that's why Examon's number 7 is Examon just shows up.
He just shows up and destroys things.
And then Genkumon's 8, which that feels like it's just got there through what little popularity he has.
Yeah, no one has any objections to Gankomon.
Roto Nightmon and Dynasmon exist.
Somewhere out there, some really devout Frontier fan is just really disappointed by this result.
Hey, at least they ended up together.
Yeah,
and then right below them are Slapemon and Craniumon, who.
And the Sabers fans are even sadder.
Yeah. And then at the bottom is Duftmon.
I think I even voted for Duftmon out of sympathy. I'm pretty sure I voted for Duftmon.
Duftmon was a great example of people going, but I see so much fan art of him. I thought he was popular. He is not. There just happens to be people who like to draw fan art of him. Probably because he has that.
I think he's one of the easier to draw ones.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true.
But yeah, and Omegamon sort of blew and we have the vote percentages. Omegamon was not close to being dethroned. But it's
he had like a solid 20%.
He had a 5% gap over
Dukemon, who's really popular.
Dukemon, yeah. It's interesting that there was Gallantmon in the
they have the auto chart. They have the auto translator in the chart set up.
Chart, that's okay.
Well, no, because it was just text overlaid on the image. So when you turn on the translator there, it just puts those there.
I like that the chart translates this to Road Nightmon. Like, we have a third possible name for him.
I think that's like the 5th, to be honest.
Oh my god. So we have Road Nightmon, Roto Nightmon,
Lord Nightmon. I'm going with Road Nightmon just as a translation issue and not an actual other one to go with.
At this point, I'm just going to start calling it Crusadermon. Like, I'm done.
Oh, we forgot Crusadermon.
The percentages of the winners are kind of goes pretty well with approximately how much merchandise each of them has. Like Omegamon.
To be fair, that's why they have merchandise, because they are that popular comparatively. I mean, because Dukemon
shouldn't be too much of a.
It feels like there's a big drop off after the first three or four as far as merchandise goes.
No, that's what I mean. Though
does Magnamon have a whole lot?
Magnamon doesn't
keychains and stickers and stuff.
I still will say the old Japanese Magnamon evolution toy was one of the nicer ones, though. Yeah. That's one that I got when WtW was still running in Japan, and that was nice.
It just feels like, looking at the merch that they've come out with recently, the ones that actually get their names on the pie charts instead of just letters feel like they're getting left out here.
It happens. And then we have all the various products.
I mean, it's like once you get to the letters, that's sort of... How much would an Examon figure cost? Let's be real here.
Well, to be fair, they wouldn't... It's not like they would do it to scale.
Come on, I want to do my playsets.
Adventure Sunday Market opened, and they announced... I believe only one of the products was actually new, which were trading medals, and the rest are from the Fuji store, which makes sense since this is a Fuji store. They announced a little lotto thing. The only Digimon prize they announced were card game starter decks. They announced a little sticker stamp digital rally thing where you can win digital photo frames. And I have to say the nice thing was the shirts from Avail, which they announced, and the next day they had them at every location they had. Very nice new artwork of Taichi and Agumon. I don't know, that was neat. The hobby stock products with that weird... more places have it now, but that artwork still strikes me as weird, especially Sora's neck. That's the one that we've kind of focused on, because it just does not look right.
Is that the neck one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then new socks.
I want the socks.
The funny part is it's the same artwork as the last socks.
Well, I don't have the last socks.
Yeah. And then they announced shirts that are exclusive to one shopping app and will only be there until they sell out, with 2 shirts for kids and 2 shirts for adults.
Yeah, the artwork on them is okay.
Well, it's stock artwork, which, I mean, it came up in the chat where, and this is why it happens so often, is stock artwork stuff always sells the best. As much as you think like unique artwork would sell, it will always be stock photos and stock artwork, which is why they always used to do photo covers of stuff like Buffy comics. No matter what new artwork they would make, it would just be beat by any random photo they could find of the actors.
Sigh.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is one of, like, I remember Dark Horse actually wrote about it, I think, in an art book, that no matter what they would commission artwork-wise, no matter who drew it, how crazy it was, if you put stock photo of any Buffy actor on a same issue and put it next to it, that one would be gone instantly.
Do better, people.
Yeah, and Kazuna Corner.
No goddamn taste.
Yeah, Kazuna Corner will not get its own art, which we kind of expected, and it will be running till September 30th. So it looks like it'll just carry over to whatever the next store is, whatever that ends up being, which we do not expect it to be Digimon. And then today we got an update on everyone's favorite topic, V-Pets. Meikumon will show up in the 2 transparent ones in the glow in the dark, and they have not said what the other 4 are. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say it's going to be the 4 from Wave 1 and 2. Does anyone think that's not what's happening? I take the silence as approval. Or in AR's case, is not caring.
You got this. I trust your judgment on this one.
Yeah. And then we brought up Adventure Market Sunday already. Or Adventure Sunday Market. We got photos of it, and we were under the impression it was going to be like a kiosk. It's actually like a night, like there's a bunch of display stuff, which is very nice. We get the big.
It looks like a well-designed vendor room booth.
Yeah. I mean, we get the artwork, we get the little TV, we get the nice display with products.
Shut up and take my money.
And hey, the 02 logo's there. Because Black War Greymon is. And we got a shot of the Sanrio shop before it opened with the display set up for social distancing, which is nice. I want to steal those wall sticky things, though.
Yeah. I could probably make those if you get me a high enough resolution image. I've got a Cricut cutter.
I have those in cartoonishly high resolution. And then we have the artwork, which is always nice. So we didn't get art for the episode, but we did get a few different Digimon playing Mahjong. Does it feel like every Terriermon Joshu image lately has been like either him being amazing or him just getting blown away?
Mm-hmm. Terriermon Joshu's that's his thing now.
Yeah, and then,
that's his lot in life, is either to have fun and explore stuff or to get his ass kicked in Mahjong.
Yeah. And then Kenji Watanabe did very nice Where Gruma. Like, it doesn't. It feels cleaner than a lot of his art generally is. Does that make sense? Maybe it's just the way it's colored. Like, it feels very stylized, and I really like it.
It's simple and actiony, and it's nice.
Yeah.
And I like a simple palette, so.
Yeah. And then the next one requires some slight explaining. The shirts from Avail, which we mentioned. After I posted the news, someone went, "There's an Avail right next to me." And I'm like, that person lives in Japan. I need to find out. So I sent them a message, and they were able to get a scan of the art tag that they had on each shirt, and was able to throw that up literally right as I was putting up the article. Which is probably the fastest. Which is probably the fastest something has come out in Japan, and I've actually been able to get a scan up. It was the same day of release in Japan, I believe. They threw me the scan, I did minor editing, and up. So that worked out very well. I like all the artwork here, but we kind of brought this up before. Why is everyone angry?
I like them when they're angry.
Maybe it's like Kirby, where it's just add angry eyebrows to everything.
But Joe's also like moving his glasses, which feels very on character for Joe.
We were having a lot of fun with Angry Hikari on Twitter last night.
Hikari does look especially angry compared to everyone else, doesn't she?
Hikari Angry is just the best. We love Angry Hikari. Because she can destroy you with her mind, and nobody pays enough heed to that.
Also, that Anjouamon versus Lady Devimon fight. She's like, bitch, get in there, just destroy her.
Yep.
Okay, speaking of Anjouamon, is it weird that a lot of people are like, why would they show Anjouamon and not Telmon? And I'm like, that's not... No. They always do this.
Mm-hmm.
It is always the children forms, cough, cough, Telmon, and the adult forms, cough, cough, Anjouamon.
Yeah.
Except
which is kind of unfair to Anjouamon.
Except in specific rare cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, nice art. It was neat to get it so quickly. And then we have questions, so everyone who's in the chat can start throwing those, and we'll start with some of the ones that were sent ahead of time. And the first one, do we know why Sand Yanmamon was colored like Yanmamon? It was either the wrong stuff was sent, or they were more concerned with having it look nice in the episode, and I don't think the gray blob color was going to look very good, to be honest.
No.
Like,
and honestly, I read the subtitles of Sandy Amamon before I figured out that it was a Yanmamon. So, I'm not one to go off of. Here's
the thing. It may very well have been a mistake on someone's part. It may have also just been they wanted to use a color that looked better in a desert shot.
Which you think Sand Yanmamon would be good for?
Yeah, except the colors, his color, it's just like this random dull gray.
Yeah, like
you would think it would be a desert color, and it's really not. So they may have just decided that was the one they were going to use. So, what upcoming products do you think you will get?
I think we'll get more buttons and acrylics.
No, See, I took this as like, what do you think? They said, do you think you will get? As in, like, what do you think we'll buy?
Do we think that I will personally get?
I thought that's what it was. I mean, I think that's what you will get, because it would say we when it was sent in. Because it was actually sent in as what will you get?
I mean, I typically collect like the little buttons and acrylics, so I'm probably not going to get. I'm probably not going to get very many. I'm probably out until
no conventions to buy the stuff at.
Until conventions happen again, I'm probably not going to be getting a whole lot.
Well, so I believe both me and Dev have the UL Force Digimon figure pre-ordered.
Oh yes.
In fact, I think I'm the one who told you where it was pre-orderable on sale, and then you cursed at me for like 10 minutes.
And then I went and bought it.
Yeah, that's why you cursed at me. And then I did, and I think I said I was going to try to do this last week where I wasn't pre-ordering the CD.
I completely forgot about it.
So yeah, I wasn't pre-ordering it on purpose because I wanted to get the Mega Jacket version from Amazon Japan so I could scan the giant version of the terrible art. And I did get that in last night right as they put up the normal orders for it. And
I was thinking of the Rayon Lee...
No, I didn't get that. I considered it, but like to get even the CD was like $40, and then shipping and just But yeah, so I got that in at the right time, and I'm trying to waft on what else is coming up that I have pre-ordered elsewhere that I should cancel the pre-order and try to like play that game of chicken where might miss out on other stuff if it goes down, or just stick with what I have pre-ordered.
What I really want to get is the Lopmon plushie. Like, I've just been holding out getting it, because then it's like, oh, it's back ordered and now it's back in stock.
There's some plushies that I would really hope I get a chance to get my hands on. Those I would consider.
I think that was back up. I thought it was. 1 second. Let's take a look.
Yeah, Lopmon's like not specifically Yapmon, but there's some other ones that have come out recently.
It's up on Ami Ami.
Okay, the Lopmon cushion, most places have it on back order, but still available to order. So it will come back, in theory. It's just not generally in stock at places.
Ami Ami has it up in stock currently, which is about $4 higher than I was hoping to pay for it, but I might treat myself to it next paycheck if it's still there.
Well, good luck with. I will say this: it is a very nice looking fat Lopmon. Like, it works good as a cushion visually.
I mean, that's kind of a lot of the plushies that I tend to collect, like ridiculously soft and squishy, where they take up more room on my bed than, I do.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what questions were in the chat. What is the likely cause of Crusadermon's name change? That's easy. Bandai would decide on. Bandai would change. I think they meant Crusadermon versus the Roto Lord Nightmon, rather than just.
I asked for clarification. It's like the difference between Roto Nightmon, Lord Nightmon, Lord Nightmon, Road Nightmon.
Yeah. Technically speaking, those are all technically accurate translations.
Yeah, it's just a really vague kana.
I go with Roto Nightmon because part of it is supposed to be Roto Knight, pun-wise. So I choose to go with Roto Knight because, and spelling out Knight with the K, because then it keeps elements of both potentials.
Yeah, I like that one too. And then Lord Nightmon is just because it's really pretentious.
Yeah, that one
and sounds like the kind of title a Royal Knight would have, because they're Royal Knights and they have stupid names like that.
Okay.
And then, the other ones are just really silly.
It's purely that those
really
are
silly and yet accurate kana.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, to the originals, the kana only matters to them. They don't care what it's actually romanized as.
Yeah.
That's not their problem.
Exactly.
And you see that same thing with Algomon versus Argomon. I think that there's been, Argomon isn't an invalid.
No.
Argomon could potentially work with that one, but Algomon, you have that algorithm pun going on. There's some vague stuff involved here that that can work in multiple ways. Like, I had the same thing with Erismon versus Harrismon as well. So
yeah. And then someone wanted to know, could there be an official release of the Digimon novels? I assume they meant English. The answer actually is that's not impossible, because more and more light novel style things do get licensed for the US. It's just a matter of whatever legal paperwork would need to be done. But I don't see that as actually impossible. Not super likely, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a whole lot of effort.
Yeah, especially since if you ignore, say, the two Kazuna ones, there's really only 3 that people have been interested in. I don't even remember if there's more. It's the 3 adventure ones.
I think it's just the 3 plus the Kazuna ones, I think, are the only ones that
and in that case,
exist.
even if they did get them, I would expect them to get the aged up Kazuna one, not the kid friendly one.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so you just license 3 novels from one company, 1 novel from another, and try to release them concurrent. Because here's the thing. At this point, this is purely coincidental that it came up earlier. You can actually get the Tenchi novels in English now. Like, even something from the mid-90s that was spin-off material exists easy to buy in English now. So that's not impossible. It's just a matter of if it happens. But definitely not impossible, though.
If they consider it's worth the money of, like, bothering getting a translator and everything.
Yeah, like if they think there's money in it. At the same time, I'm still kind of confused that a kid-friendly novel of Kazuna exists in addition to the adult-friendly one. But that's neither here nor there.
True. Then Ian asks, what pieces of official media do you think best showcase Digimon as a science fiction franchise and an action franchise?
Ooh.
Okay, let's do sci-fi first, just to science fiction.
This is a tough one because I think it's a toss-up for me between Tamers and Atmon.
Well, I think
Atmon works really well.
I think there's
as a sci-fi franchise.
I think there's an interesting flaw with the thinking, which is, does sci-fi have to be techno-y? Because you could argue Adventure does sci-fi very well. It's just not. It's just not quite. It just isn't the sort of assumption of what you think of when you think of sci-fi, but it is science fiction.
See, I always associate. See, I tend to divide series. Yeah, I tend to divide series into which ones feel more like sci-fi and which ones feel more fantasy, and Adventure has always struck me as fantasy. And not like all of it. Like Adventure is fantasy. Zero Two straddles the line a little more. Tri leans a little more into sci-fi. It's a weird distinction there.
We've kind of broken into the Star Wars argument of, is Star Wars actually science fiction or is it science fantasy? And it's kind of both.
Yeah, but I mean, he's saying he said sci-fi, so
yeah.
I'm going sci-fi here. Science fantasy, I think you can make a good argument for Adventure, especially as a whole.
Yeah.
But for sci-fi specifically, yeah, I would go Tamers or Atmon, because Tamers has a good sci-fi feel to it. Atmon, I think, has that really good sci-fi messaging and exploration of science concepts. I think Atmon does it better than most series.
Dev, you go next, because I'm actually still thinking of this one.
I really have to say Tamers. I think Tamers and Tamers 1984, not that I've read too much of that one in a long time, but just because the speculative fictional elements of how could creatures like this
speculative. That's speculative fiction. Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of there.
I think I would probably go with Atmon, to be honest, because it just integrates
I didn't watch
those
enough of Atmon yet.
It just sort of integrates those.
Sure to watch.
And that's the thing, is Atmon.
It integrates it very well.
It sort of just plays with it and treats it like a fun, cute concept in the beginning. By the end of it, they're really drilling down on the speculative fiction element of what happens at the point of singularity.
Yeah. And then as for action, it's an easy answer, but I'd probably say our war game.
That's not a bad choice. I would say, honestly, for straight up action, I would say first place would honestly be the reboot.
See, I kind of strayed from picking the reboot because it's still so early in it, though. But yeah, it has had some great action so far.
They seem really committed to providing good action. Yeah. And I can't say that about every season. I think the only other season that I've seen that really commits itself to good action the way that the reboot does is Cross Wars. It's either the reboot or Cross Wars for me.
You're definitely not wrong. Dev, what do you think?
I would say either Cross Wars or a little bit of Sabers, especially because you also have the human characters really getting in there and either fighting themselves or really participating in the battle, not just earlier seasons where it's oh, cute little human off to the side playing cheerleader. Everyone's kind of involved in the melee.
Yeah, that's fair. That's good.
And then Terry wants to know, when do you think Padamon and Telmon will come into the anime? I mean, they're theoretically looking for them now.
I think once the perfects all get introduced, I think it's not going to be very long. I think maybe we're 3 or 4 episodes away once all the perfects get introduced.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or at least this round of perfects, assuming they do give Joe Zudomon. Just come on.
And now we have everyone's favorite subject. Why is a bit of silence making people worry that Digimon Survive is canceled when silence happens a lot with games?
It hasn't been a bit of silence.
Yeah, well, I would say there's 2 core reasons. One, we're not really used to Digimon games being announced that far ahead in recent memory. So they're generally announced not super far out, so we get just a drip feed of stuff until they're out. And 2, Habu is a very public producer. So for him to up and not vanish isn't quite the word. He's chosen not to interact on social media. It gives the appearance that something is going on, whether there is or isn't. It could easily just be everyone tapering down to do the last bit of hard work. But because of how, when you have a producer who decides he's going to be the public face, you can't vanish without it seeming strange. And that's basically what I would say about it, is it just feels off. But I don't think the game's canceled or anything like that. I don't think any of us do,
tormenting people.
Yeah, it's fun. And then Terry asked, do you think Yamato will loosen up the Lone Wolf act soon?
Soon?
No.
Soon is the key word here, because he's going to eventually.
Yes.
Like, that's clearly going to be part of his narrative arc, and he's going to get there eventually.
It feels like he's trying
soon
to.
or not. Yeah, whether it's soon or not, it's hard to say. Like, this is, we're at 60. We have 55 episodes left
at the minimum
go here. So yeah, soon might be asking a lot, but he'll get there.
Especially since he's only been in like
4
or 5 episodes at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even to the point where Joe would be introduced, as far as how many episodes he's been in.
Oh man, yeah. If you were to ask like quick first answer, like in 2 seconds, who's been in more episodes, Joe or Yamato? I don't think, no guarantee I would get that right.
It's Yamato.
It is Yamato,
because Joe showed up. Joe showed up in the episode before Yamato came back, and Yamato was in 2 and 3.
That actually happened at some point. There was actually a point, I was keeping track of this.
Wait, while you're discussing this, you guys in the chat, we'll finish up questions soon, so throw any in while AR is talking.
Oh, I was actually, it's funny this when you think about that sort of thing, because when I was reviewing Atmon for the second time, I was kind of keeping track in my head early on who had been in more episodes, Eugen or Watson. And by episode like 12,
it's Watson.
Through episode 12, it's Watson, which, when you look at the overall progression of the series, just blows your mind.
Well, it makes sense when originally they planned to have Eugen be more mysterious, and then they sort of just changed their mind what they were going to do with him, which is why we get the shadow figure that's never explained.
Yeah, was it confirmed that they had intended for that to be Eugen?
I think
that's the implication for sure.
No,
but it's the only obvious candidate.
I thought it was in an interview near the end of the series, but that may just have been, you hear it so much you sort of forget.
I remember that there was an interview where they said that they had planned to do something with it and never confirmed anything, but I don't think they ever officially connected him to Eugen, even though that's clearly where their heads must have been at.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think that's something everybody just sort of assumed and was never confirmed for sure.
Okay, we'll call that for questions. AR, where can they find you?
First Agent ARP is my Twitter. Digimon.firstagent.net is my review website. Also, special shout out, something cool going on tomorrow is Derek Stephen Prince is doing a live stream tomorrow where he's reading excerpts of various stuff. I think he picked a couple fanfics that he's reading, but I decided to be a little more proactive with that. And he's actually going to be reading either the excerpt or the entire part of one of the WtW audio dramas tomorrow.
Ooh.
Yeah. I wrote an adaptation of one of Ken's tracks from a WtW audio drama and sent that to him, so he'll be reading either part or all of that tomorrow.
Yeah. I can, of course, be found at With the Will. And Dev, did you remember what we discussed for you for the end of episode, since you have nothing to pimp? By the
Telling
silent
people leave me the hell alone.
I was going to take that as a no.
Oh no, I remember thinking of a Wikimon article to whore out, but at the same time, I haven't looked at Wikimon in a week. And
okay, to celebrate the win of little-known Digimon Omegamon, everyone go read the Omegamon article on Wikimon. Because I
will kill all of you.
We want this little-known Digimon who won to be better known, along with the 10 other versions of Omegamon.
Yeah, good for Omegamon. I have a good feeling about this one. I think he's going to go over well among the fans.
Yeah. So we will catch you guys later next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.